Good morning, everybody. We're working today on a pulsa jet tank and carburetor. And I need a pulsa jet tank and carburetor combination that's going to prime. What I do is I'll get an old mower that's been abused, neglected, tossed aside, forgotten about, traded in, and Briggs and Stratton's a wonderful engine, so you can usually get them going. You figure out what's going on with the fuel situation, whether it's a carburetor or old fuel, things like that. That's what most of the issues are with the mowers that I work on. So I'm always needing these little pulsa jet tanks and carburetors that are already priming. And you see I work on them here. I get them repaired and then I put them in a cardboard box, wrap them up in, protect them from dirt and dust. And then when I get an old mower in, I'll take that old beat up, filthy tank and carburetor off and set it aside to be cleaned up later. And then I'll put one of my pre-cleaned, pre-tested, and I know primes on the mower. So I just wanted to show you how I go about that. So I've got a tank here that I've cleaned and gotten all the dirt and crud off that you can. An old tank like that doesn't have to be totally pristine. I've got a carburetor here that I think it says I've tested in the past, but I need to put it on a tank, and so there's the tank. So let's get this thing on and you see how I do that, because that's what I want to share with you is the steps I take to try and get this thing to prime and get the diaphragm installed without tearing anything up, damaging the diaphragm, that kind of thing. So this is not a new diaphragm. Looks like an old one. Okay, so anyway, the first thing you want to do is make sure, because you're going to get 5 screws when you take this off, not 6, even though there's 6 holes. That's because this is the screw that the air filter screw goes in, that long screw that holds the air filter on. This has to be cleaned out, and when you're working with old mowers, sometimes this thing will be almost totally packed off with dirt and gunk, and the air filter screw will never screw in there and thread in because it's too dirty. So you got to clean that out, and you know it's clean when you can hear metal. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to set our, let me get that, see a little bit of dirt on there, don't need that on there. Again, this is not a new diaphragm and gasket. I just want to show you how I'm going to put it on. This is the same procedure would be for a new one. And the diaphragm touches the tank. That goes on first, and then the gasket. So this is already a pair, and then that goes on there. Now with the new carburetor, with the new gaskets and diaphragms that you get off the internet, I will often save this old gasket and I'll put the new diaphragm on, then I put 2 gaskets on because the ones you get off the internet, they're so cheap and thin, I don't think they provide enough closure to prevent leaks. So sometimes they'll leak if you just do that really thin gasket on there. So we've got that in place. And now I got 5 little nails here that I know are small enough to go in those screw holes. And I'm going to ease this carburetor into place. The little primer bulb's going to face towards me. So I'm going to ease this in while kind of holding on to this diaphragm and gasket that goes like that. Okay, now this is where you get into trouble because this all moves, see, it moves around, and that diaphragm will end up blocking one of the little holes. You put the screw in, force it in, you tear up your diaphragm. because those things are really thin. So I recommend you get some little screws like this and put them in, and that'll hold it whenever, because you're going to bump this and knock it out of alignment as you're putting these screws in. So start like this. Okay, hear that? Touching metal, touching metal. There's nothing interfering with that. The gasket and diaphragm are not in the way. All right, so this fifth one would be here, but those four lined up. So now, let's get some screws here. This is off a carburetor I need to work on and get the screws off of it. I've already hit these with the wire brush, so I know they're clean and should go in pretty easily. All right, so we got four there, and the one that's open is on this side, so I'm just going to very delicately kind of put that in place. All right, now I get a really small little screwdriver and begin to ease these Phillips head screws into place. So there's, okay, that's going in just 2 or 3 turns. All right, so that, okay, now you'll be able to see this one real good. So this one, pull that out, we'll lay our little screw in there, try not to bump it too much. Drops in place. Okay, I don't feel any resistance. That means the diaphragm is not in the way, the gasket's not in the way, blocking that. All right, let's do another one here on this side that you can see. We're just getting these started. All right, got 2 more to go. 1. And 2, and we have all 5 screws which have been threaded in, so I'm going to start taking them down with this little screwdriver. It's easy to turn. Easy. This one's only been put in 2 or 3 turns. I'm going to say get down where it's almost flush. That one's almost flush. Okay, now I'm going to get out the real screwdriver, which is the Phillips head, and start taking these things down. Okay, that's snug. 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 Okay. Now this tank I have pre-filled with kerosene. So I'm just testing this because if it tests out and it primes, it's going to go into storage to be used later. But before I do that, before I store it as a working pulsa jet carburetor and tank, I need to check it for prime. So let me make sure that's in the camera view, and it is. All right, so I got it pointed at this little plastic jug here. Let me tilt it up a little bit. Actually, that's pretty good, just where it was, okay? All right, so when I push this primer bulb, and that air passes out, as the primer bulb comes back, it creates a vacuum and draws fuel up. So that's how these work. So the first, I don't expect this, it to squirt out on the first one because I've got to get fuel up out of the tank. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 3. Okay, I can hear it and feel it coming up. You hear that? There we go. Did you see that primer squirt that fuel in there? Watch again. You can hear it hitting the back. So this one's ready to install. So that's how you do it. That's one of the ways to do it. I do it other ways too, but that's one I know is fail-safe because I'm not going to tear up that diaphragm putting it on by using those nails to kind of stabilize it. You take them out one at a time, put the screws in there. So this is now a working pulsa jet carburetor. It's going to go on an old mower and bring it back to life. So there you go. That's one of the best ways to do it that I know of. Thanks, and please subscribe.